to have, write that JavaScript, and in the JavaScript we used to write that code to, query our CRM database using CRM services to fetch this related information, and we need to write that logic. Let's say, for example, if any lookup value is selected, we need to bring this information, and if they will remove that lookup value, we need to remove the related entity information. But here in QuickView, you can design this complete form out of box without writing a single line of code. You can design your form. You have options there. You can use the tab. You can use sections. You can also use subgrids. So it means you can also display their associated entities as well in the QuickView forms. But you need to keep in mind that these forms don't include header, footer, and navigation area. So this is just the section will be there, the fields will be there, and this will be completely read-only information. So you cannot edit information over there. It's just for the display purpose. And this form also does not support form scripts, like you can write form script in other entities, so you can apply your JavaScript for the validation or to perform any kind of action. But here you cannot apply any JavaScript. So this is totally for view purpose. Go to CRM, design your form, and then you can use that over to the parent entity. So let's move to our next slide. Then we will show you how you can create a QuickView form. So create QuickView form, you need to do the same. You need to navigate to your solution, you need to navigate to your entity, and there again under the drop down, new drop down, you will have option to create QuickView, and then you will get this interface where you can have the tab and you can add sections, subgrids, and spacers. So again here the tab will be single, you cannot add more than one tab, but you can add as many as section you want here, and you can also add the subgrids to show the related information. So I hope you just want to keep it, just a very key information that we want to display here instead of, designing it the complete form. Because if they want to see the complete form, they can click over the lookup and they can open that form. So this is just for the, just displaying the key information into the parent entity. So once you have that create, you can publish your entity, and then you can go to your target entity, which is basically the parent entity, where you want to show your QuickView form. You need to go to that form. There under insert menu, we have option to add the QuickView forms. Once you will click on that button, you will get this property window where you need to define this property. For example, name, the label that you want to display there, and then you can select that which will be the lookup control that will be the associated with the view, and then you can show that whatever related entity that you want to and then we have QuickView form that we just created. So you can select here, if you have more than one form, so it will display it here, you can select it. And once you will publish your form, you can see, let's say for example, we have we have this QuickView form over the account entity, and when we will select the primary contact, so you can see that here it will fetch the related primary contact information. So it's bringing the email, it's bringing the business phone. In the similar way, you can have other fields display here. So you can also display other related information here. And once you will remove this value, it will remove every value that you can see here for the related information. So no need to bother that, okay, if somebody will remove this lookup value, if this value will be updated or not. So you can always think that whenever you will select this value, only then it will fetch that related information. So you will have always latest value available in the QuickView forms. So this is the QuickView form that we have in 2013. So now let's move to the next slide. We have window tablet client. So for this I'm moving control to Roohi. So
thanks Mahender. So let's have a look at Windows tablet client. So with 2013, Microsoft has gone ahead and released tablet clients for Windows as well as iPad. Out here right now, I would be giving a demo on the Windows tablet client. Now, just as we spoke on the previous slide about the UI enhancements, so in the earlier versions of CRM, there was something called Mobile Express, and if you went to the entity customizations, you had a mobile form. And to display the records on the Mobile Express, you had to design the mobile form, and for the layout of the web client, you had to design the web form. So right now, all of this concept goes away. There's only one single form. The way it is rendered, it's only the rendering that differs between the various clients which you're using, whether it's Outlook, whether it's web, whether it's your tablet client or it's your mobile client. So it's only the rendering that has differed, and that was one of the major reasons for even bringing about the flat layout and the concept wherein they can go ahead and implement a single form rendered differently in all of the clients. Along with it, now with the tablet client comes along the click-to-call Skype, which is also available in the web client. It is also available in the tablet client now. The native email client integration. Again, Mobile Express was a very restricted mobile client for CRM, wherein you were not allowed to do. It was not a full-fledged CRM application where you could do absolutely anything that you can do on the web client. But with the Windows Tablet client, they have tried to achieve that, wherein you can really live with the Windows Tablet client without having to navigate or without having to use your Outlook client or your web client. Obviously, the administrators would need to use the web client, but for end users, Windows Tablet client would allow you to do just about everything that you would do otherwise on a web client. Again, what about the access control? Yes, security roles, that cannot be forgotten. So the control to tablet client is controlled through security roles. Only users that have roles and privileges to connect with a Windows tablet client can do so. Otherwise, they would not be able to. So that ensures that there's no unauthorized access through Windows tablet client if your organization does not want to implement a Windows tablet client. And field level security. So if you have field level security, all of that logic will be ported and available in Windows tablet client. Now, in the latest slides, we're going to talk about something called portable business logic, and you know about the plugins and workflows. Any operation performed through the Windows tablet client will ensure that all of this is supported and behaves the way it would in a web client. Now, the most awaited feature, global search. That's the most asked, requested feature. What's a global search? Search across entities. Right now, you have advanced find, but it only allows you to search within an entity. Global search allows you to search for records across entities. And that's there in the Windows tablet client. So you don't have it as yet in the web client, but they have been able to include this feature in the Windows tablet client. Let's go ahead and have a look at the Windows tablet client. So this is how the Windows tablet client looks. When you log in, the first screen that you see is the dashboard screen. And this is the same dashboard that you see when you log into your web client. So again, the dashboard, they are not two different dashboards. You don't need to design a dashboard differently for your tablet client and different one for your web client. It's the same one. Yes, there is a limitation. The limitation being that if your dashboards have any web resources or iframes included in them, they're not going to be displayed or rendered on the tablet client. So it's not going to stop you from using a dashboard. It will just not render that part of the dashboard on the tablet client. So this is the standard sales dashboard. If you open a standard sales dashboard on your web client, you will notice that these are the same grids that were added to the dashboard out there. Moving forward, again, this is a lead record that I have opened in the tablet client, and if you notice, you have the process-driven UI out here. So it supports the same UI. You can actually do the entire process-driven navigation from your tablet client. Here are in the qualify stage on the right hand side, you can see all of the stages and steps included in the qualify stage. All of the there is the key information. The key information is displayed on the left, which is the owner and the activities grid. Let me move forward now. Over here, okay, here we have the phone call option and the email option. If you were to click on this phone number, it will prompt you to that it's trying to open Skype. It will open Skype. It will create a phone call activity behind the scene. It will create the phone call activity as a outbound phone call activity with all of the information pre-populated in here. So once I click yes, it's actually going to go and even open Skype and call the number using Skype. Now over here, this is the call from, as you know, is a lookup controls out here. If you see, it even allows for lookup filtering. So if you see at the bottom of the screen, now that I've typed A, it's showing me only the records that start with the alphabet A. So as I type further, it's going to go on filtering. So even though it's a tablet client, you don't have to have a pop-up coming up which allows from which you need to select the records. It's intelligent enough to perform an in-place filtering of the records as you type and allow you to select the one that you want. The new button out here, this is the new button that you normally see in any lookup window to create a record on the fly. So yes, you have it in your tablet client as well. You can click on this new record and it will open a new record, a new account form, fill in the details, click close, click save, and move forward. Now, if I were to click on the email link on the form, it's going to try to open the native application email client that is configured on your system. So out here it's trying to open Outlook, so it'll open Outlook email, and with the email address and everything already pre-populated, you type in your mail, click on send. However, it will not automatically track that email in CRM. You will need an Outlook client to track that email in CRM. Now, on the screen, as you can see, these are all the features that you can see on the web client of the lead form as well. So you have the ability to qualify, disqualify, assign. You even can switch the process, switch the business process on the record. Now out here, besides tablet specific options like pin to start, pin to dashboard, you also have the option to open in browser. So like I said, the forms on the tablet client do not render the iframes or web resources that may be included on the form. So if you want to have access to that through your web client, simply click the open in browser. It will open the same lead form in the web browser for you, and you can check out the web resources or that you have added to your form. So in no way is it a restrictive design wherein if it says that there are no iframes, there are no iframes. No, there are no iframes in the tablet client, but that you can always click on the open in browser to have a look at the iframes and other web resources included. Now, this is the global search, the much awaited global search. So at present, it is restricted to these entities out here, listed out here. Now, I performed, it supports wildcard. As you can see, I put a star on both sides. So it supports a wildcard search. I had selected the option none, so you can see that it performed the search and listed out all of these, all the records in all of these entities that include the word sample in them. So this allows for the global search that is available. the home option will take you back to the home screen, and here you can click on the option to get the navigation menu to move between the entities. There is support for any entities, so any custom entities. So if you would like one of your custom entities to be available on the tablet client, you need to go on the entity and enable the option which says that make it available on the tablet client. Again, you also have the option to decide whether you want to make that entity available in a read-only mode or as an editable record. So right now, the account, contact, entity, all of these have been enabled in editable mode. But you would want to have some entity available on the tablet client, but only for read-only access and not really allow them to edit it from there. So you can check that option where you want to make the entity available only for read-only access in the tablet client. Now, how do you control the access? So under business management, there's an option use CRM for tablets. This is a new option that has been added now. Until users have this privilege with them, they would not be able to configure a tablet client. So that was it for the tablet client. Now let's move forward with the business process flows. So business process flows is at present not a new concept for most of you all, because you've seen with the Polaris update what the business process flow does. The Polaris update, however, made this available only for the sales entity and for the case entity. However, with CRM 2013, they have extended this further. This move is targeted towards making CRM a process-driven interface for users, and to base it on their roles and also to base it on the role of each user. Earlier, it allows for a seamless movement across entities. In the previous versions, if a person wanted to a role of a user, say suppose take the sales process that was there. So you started with lead, and then you moved on to opportunity and quote and order and invoice and so on. Now, if anybody wanted to have go back and check the trace of how it all went, it would involve moving across different areas of CRM. So being an opportunity, you want to check you want to check the lead, you click on the originating lead, you click, there's another pop-up that shows up. So it was basically switching between windows. If you wanted to check the activities, you needed to click somewhere to go and check what happened to the activities. So basically, to perform the whole idea is to not present the entities as separate records. The concept of records, going about creating records, has gone. It's more of process and all the entities that are involved in the process. So there should be seamless movement and interaction between the entities that are involved in the process. So with that move, Microsoft has now extended this business process flow so that it is now available for custom entities as well. You can define multiple processes for a single entity. So you may have different processes for different user roles. So again, in line with their role-based form, they have ensured that business process flows are also role-based. This is solution aware, which means that it can be exported as part of customization within solutions between one organization and another. Role-based processes, you can define security role access to processes so that different set of users can have access to the business process flow that is specific to their responsibilities in the organization. Now out here I just mentioned that it supports multiple business processes on the same entity. So say suppose you started a record with a particular process, and then midway you think that since this customer has changed his mind and the other business flow would be better suited for this customer, you can actually go ahead and midway switch the process from process A to process B without any effect on the record. Now this process switching can be performed dynamically as well through code. This process flows has required addition of 2 custom attributes to every entity on which you enable business process flows. The process stage, process ID and the stage ID. So, however, these fields are not available for update either through workflow or even available for placement on the form so that you can change it through script. So a fellow MVP, Scott Duro, has created a workflow assembly that can be downloaded from the below mentioned URL. And it's a solution that he has designed. You can just it's a workflow. You pass the process that you want to move to, and it will automatically transfer. So now with business flow process flows, what's happening is just like with role based. Say you have based on the customer type. Say if the customer type is retail, customer type is retail, you need a particular business process to follow. If the customer type is wholesale, you want another business process to follow, and you don't want the users to manually keep switching the process. So you can actually have the workflow fire on the change of your customer type and appropriately set the business process. You would have to refresh your form to make sure that you have moved on and you see the business process flow appropriate to your to the customer type that has been selected. I'll just go ahead with a short demo on the business process flow to show how it involves seamless transfer between the entities and the great ease of use that this has brought about. So let's take this example of appointment scheduling. Now over here, say you have a person who's out there accepting calls for an organization that makes laptops. So the user picks up the call, and it's a complaint call. So it could either be an existing customer or it could be a new customer. So if you can see, the first stage out here is identify. So the process flow is actually guiding the user as well. So you have find customer. So this immediately tells the user there's no training as such is required, because find customers. So the user using this form knows the first step that I need to do is identify if the person on the call is an existing customer or do I need to create a customer for them. So, okay, find the customer that you want. Once the customer is entered, find the case. Is this an existing complaint or is this a new incident that I need to, ticket that I need to open? If it's a new ticket, I enter in the details. I have already selected the customer. I click on save and create the case, and then it's guiding me that, okay, so the next step is, now that you have now that you have created a case, go ahead and schedule an appointment so that this request can be serviced. Now, if you can see in the previous screen out here, we are on the case form. In the next screen, just by moving the stage, I'm actually on the appointment form. There are no pop-ups. I didn't have to click anything. I didn't have to go about anywhere clicking any button. It's a seamless movement from the case entity to the appointment form. And out there, I can fill in the details that I want, and the appointment is created. Again, it's guiding them. Enter the subject, select the time, enter the duration, click on the next stage, and it will save the appointment, and it's all ready to do. Now, somebody wants to have a look at what's happening with this case. The visual look of the various stages allows anybody to from a single look to know that the appointment has already been scheduled. Earlier, that was not the case. You had to go about in the activity screen to see, okay, is there an open appointment? No. Is there a closed appointment? Yes. Okay. Right now, with these two steps checked, we know that the appointment has been scheduled. The case has been registered, and now you go with the follow-up thing. So on the follow-up stage, again, out here, if you can see in the activities pane, in the social pane over here, you see the activity that you just created for the case in the previous stage. So they can click on this. Say suppose now, since we're doing a demo, we can go ahead and just click on complete to ensure that this activity is complete. In which case, again, it's guiding. So you have completed this appointment. Now, what about the next? Do you want to create a follow-up? Do you want to create a follow-up activity for this? If we enter a date, again, create reminder. Now, create reminder is this business process is such that you can go ahead and create custom attributes. So create reminder is actually a custom attribute that has been added, a Boolean attribute, yes or no. If say yes, we can have a workflow design that would, based on this field, pick up the value from the follow-up on date that they have entered and go ahead and create a follow-up phone call automatically without requiring the user to actually go and create a follow-up phone call. So if the follow-up on is entered, create a reminder, yes, no, we have selected yes out here. So if you see in the next screen, automatically a phone call has been created. I have not done anything. I have not had to go and create any phone calls or any activities manually. It's all been done for me. Now, you want to resolve the case. In the previous versions, you would always notice that it often happened that you went to go about resolving a case and there was a pop-up that came up saying that all activities have not been completed. There cannot be open activities when you resolve the case, and you had to cancel it, go back, close all your activities, and then move forward. So out here, the reminder is right on the process flow. Are all activities complete? So if I say yes, I can go ahead and mark it as resolved. If no, it's a reminder to me. It's a checklist. Go check. Are all the activities complete? From my activities pane, I can see that these two activities are still not complete. I can go ahead, complete them, click on resolve case. Once I resolve the case, the case is closed. So all I had to do, everything I had to do was from this very screen. I didn't have to move anywhere beyond this application. I didn't have to keep navigating across CRM to perform my job. So, and that's my job. My job is to schedule appointment and I can just do it. So with this kind of a process flow, the user acceptance of the product increases big time. Now, so here we've gone ahead, resolve the case. I clicked on resolve case, so this is a traditional resolve case, but pop-up that shows up, enter the resolution description, and the case is resolved. Now, so I mentioned that you can have multiple processes, so you can switch processes. So there's an option on the entity on the entity level command bar in the ... that you see. When you click on that, you'll see the switch process option. Clicking on that, it will bring up this pop-up box that will show you all of the processes that are available for the selected entity. Now, for this screenshot, I have picked up the opportunity entity because that's the one that had multiple business process flows. By the way, just like you install sample data going into data services, Microsoft has made available some predefined business process templates, which you can also install going into the data services. So make sure that after you start a trial, go ahead and do install these processes, so that they can help you understand the process concept much better. Now, in this screen, we'll see how to define processes. So you can add stages. So you say that my process is I need a stage between qualify and develop. Go ahead and add it. So you can add stages. You can add category is mostly for reporting purposes, so that you can know that how many of your opportunities are in a particular stage or a category. One stage can have multiple categories. So that's the reason why you cannot really do your reporting based on stages. You can have, so there's another concept of stage category, and you can base your reporting out of category. Now you see a required column out here. Now in this example, none of them are checked. But what does that required mean? It means that you cannot move to the next stage until and unless you have completed that field. So that field could be selecting a contact, it could be clicking on the resolve case, it could be any attribute, decision maker, yes, no. It could be as simple as that. But if that field or the step is marked as required, you will not be able to move to the next stage until you have entered a value for that particular field. So that was all for the business process flow concept that has been introduced in 2013. Now let's move on to the next feature, that is business rules. I'll pass control to Mahender to continue on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Roohi. So, business rule is another most awaited feature by business CRM users or the CRM admins who are basically not a developer. So they don't know how to write JavaScript or how to write code for CRM. And this feature is basically developed for these kind of users who want to implement some business rule, who want to implement some business data validation over the CRM entity without writing single line of code, just like they can do with the workflows. So they can go to CRM UI, there they can design the workflows and they can impose their business logic. So in the same way, business rule is also added for those users where it provides you the functionality where you can go to CRM UI and you can, just after few click, you can have your business logic available to implement there. But these business rules are only applied to the CRM field, so you cannot apply these business rule to other controls like sections or tabs. So we have different options that we can implement in business rules. So we can set value for a field, or let's say, for example, if we need some kind of calculated value and we want to display some calculated value to some specific CRM field, we can use business rule. In the same way, let's say, for example, we want to implement some data validation where we want to make some field business required based on some condition, or we want to, display some kind of notification to the user. So we can use business rule, and we can also apply business rules specific to CRM forms. So like we have in CRM, we have multiple forms available, so we can assign forms based on the user security role. So you can define your business rules specific to form, that it could be differ for a salesperson, or it could be differ for a sales manager, or it could be differ for a sales admin. So you can define the scope of your business rule, so which form your business rule will apply. And it also helps us to control the visibility of the field. So most of the time we have let's say, for example, if we have some a CRM form that we are using for multiple type of users, and we have different business user, and just we want to switch over fields, and we just need to hide some of the fields if you are a different user. Or it may be, let me give you a very simple example. Let's say we have a relationship type in account entity, and there we want to implement this kind of business rule, that if you are a consultant, you will be able to see these couple of fields, and if you are an advertiser, you will be able to see these kind of address specific fields, or if you are an agency, you will be able to see different set of fields. So you can easily control this field visibility now with the help of business rule without writing any single line of code. So you don't need to write code, you can design that into CRM itself. So in these things, keeping these things, we can say that this is kind of replication of the JavaScript, but this is we cannot say that it's completely replication of the JavaScript. We still need JavaScript to get, if we want to implement some kind of business logic or data validation for other entities. So let's say, for example, if we are working on a account entity and we want to apply some logic on account entity based on some value from the contact entity, which is basically a related entity. So you cannot do that in business rule. So business rules are specific to specific entity, and you can only impose your business logic to the specific entity field. So you cannot access fields other than this entity, or you cannot access any related entity field while you are designing your business rule. So this way we still need JavaScript. And the other most important point we need to keep in mind that because it provides us functionality that we can assign value to our CRM field. So we can assign calculated or simple value. But when you are assigning any value to CRM field through the business rules, it won't fire the on change event of the CRM field. But just like in a traditional way, if you will write JavaScript code, and through JavaScript, if you will assign any value to CRM field, it will fire the on change event of that CRM field. But in business rules, this is not the case. So you need to keep in mind, if there is some business logic that you are implementing, so you need to make sure that you need to handle this situation in your scenario. So let's move to the next slide, and where I will show you how we can create business rules. So let's take a very simple example here, that if we want to let's say we want to implement the business rules over the relationship only, and let's say we have one industry field that we want to make business required if relationship type selected is consultant. So we can easily implement this through JavaScript. We are a developer, but if you are a business user, you can go to CRM and you can navigate to your solution, you can navigate to your entity. In the left navigation section, you will have option to create business rules. So you can click there, and then you will have buttons available over the command bar. There you can select new, and once you will select new, this window will be available for you, where you can provide your condition, you can provide your action, and you can provide your description. In the condition, we can select the entity specific fields, then we can compare with the value or with the other fields. So you have options that if you want to compare some value to a specific value, or if you want to do comparison between two fields, so you have option here in the condition. So let's say we just want to say that we want to check if relationship type is selected as consultant or not. So we will just select here if relationship type equals operator and equal to the consultant, and then we will have action. In the action, we can select that we just want to implement the business required logic there. So we will go there and we will select industry field, and from the action part we will select that we want to make it business required. And in the description, if we can enter some kind of user information if you want to keep some information over here. And this business, once you have this business logic ready, you can see in the right section that you can define the scope. So if you have multiple forms for specific entity, these forms will be available here. So if you want to apply this business logic to all the forms, you can select all form. Otherwise, you can select a very specific form where you want to apply your business logic, and you can select it here. Then we have options here, our command bar, that we need to activate your business logic. So once it is created, you need to activate it. So this is another feature here, that let's say for example, if you are working with some, if for some time you want to apply some kind of validation, you can activate it, and if let's say after some time you don't need that validation, you can just deactivate that, and it can be there, and you can again after some time you can be activated. It's just like workflow, we can activate, deactivate, that same thing. So you can activate your business rule here. And the one important point that you need to keep in mind, if you are working with business rules, you need to handle the scenario of both if and else. So in this case, let's say for example, we have just created one business rule that will make industry field required. So this will handle the if part. But you need to create another business rule that will be handling the else part, where if you are not selecting consultant from the relationship type, that will remove that business requirement from the industry field. So you need to create that another business rule as well, so that both of the business rule will be there and it will work accordingly if the whatever will be the situation. So after activation, if we can test our business rule, so let's move to next slide, and then we will see that we have created this business rule specific to our account entity, and when we will open that account entity, we can see that here in the relationship type, we have selected the consultant. So once you will select the consultant, it will make that industry field required, and you need to enter that information, whatever information you want to enter here. So if you will change this value to something else, let's say customer or account, advertiser or agency, and if you don't have other business rule that will remove this business requirement, you can see that the requirement will be still there. So make sure to create that other business rule for handling the else part. So in the same way, if let's say for example, if you are working with the visibility of the controls and you are writing some kind of validation where you want to hide some fields and you want to show that fields on the different conditions. So let's say we are selecting the same example. Let's say we are selecting the advertiser in the relationship type, and we have couple of address field that we want to display to the user to fill up that address information. But if you are an agency, this is not the case. So we need to hide that address information. To handle this situation, you need to create two business rules just like this. The one that will make them visible and the other one that will make them hidden. So you need to handle both of the scenario. So using this way, you can create business logic, and you can implement your business logic. And this was the most awaited feature, and we used to get lots of questions over CRM development form where business users are asking that how they can apply the business logic. So now this is the very much excited feature that is there in CRM 2013, and you can easily create business logic. So let's move to our next slide. So in this slide, we are going to discuss a couple of new enhancement in the client side, where we have, we got some of the functions that we used to write earlier, and now we have very simple functions. You can just write those functions in a single line, and you can implement that logic. So let's take an example. This is add presearch and add custom filter. So this is also most requested feature, and in earlier, in the CRM 4.0 times, we used to get lots of requirements where we need to implement that filtered views. So in CRM 2011, the Microsoft added that filtered views, and now in CRM 2013, they have provided a very two simple functions that you can use to filter your lookup views. So let's say, for example, if you want to implement some kind of business logic and you want to filter your lookup views based on the value selected in some field, or it could be that you just want to display only specific information to the lookup view to the user. So let's take an example. If you are working with the let's say if you are working with the accounts, and or maybe you are working with the contact, and there you have parent customer, so you can apply filter over their parent customer ID, and then you can say that okay, I just want to see only those accounts which are advertiser, or it may be which are I just want to associate my primary contact to the account which is approved by the business users, or it could be that I just want to associate my primary contact with such a account which which is available in this city, or a particular city, or particular category. So you can easily define your custom filter. So you can and this is also very easy. Just you can go to advanced find. There you can design your simple whatever information you want to put there. You can apply your condition, and you can simply design your through that advanced find, and once you will run that, you will get result, And in advanced find, we have option to download that fetch XML. So you can download that fetch XML and then you can apply that fetch XML to the customer filter, and then resulting that whenever you will open or you will go to that lookup view, and when you will click on that, the lookup view that you will be able to see will be filtered based on your condition. So you need to make sure here that you need to use the custom filter function with the connection of pre-search. So pre-search is the thing that we need to implement, because pre-search will be apply that pre-search logic to that lookup view with the help of custom filter. So this is the way that we can apply our custom filter to lookup views. And now get username. I know that at present as well, the most visited blog post in my blog is to how to get the current user name in CRM. So if we will let's talk about in 2011, where we have a method available to get that user ID from the page context. But if you want to get that username, you need to write a service call. So you need to query to CRM service, you need to get that information, and then you need to pass that, and then you can process on that. But now this is not the case. In CRM 2013, we have a very simple single function available in the context of the page. You can just simply say get username and it will be visible to you. So you can have that, you no need to write service call. A single command, you will have that name. The other two methods that we are going to discuss here is the set notification and set form notification. So this is also very most awaited feature in the 2013, where sometimes we want to display some notification to the user. So earlier what we used to do, we used to display that alert. So that alert will kind of block your processing. So it will block your processing. Your server cannot process it until you will it won't get response from you. And we have in the same thing, if we want to display some kind of notification to the form, so we used to use that alert thing, or we used to develop a custom HTML control to display that notification to user. But now in 2013, we have these two fantastic functions where set notification is just like we have that control validator in ASP.NET. So if you are working on some kind of data validation, and let's say for example the format of the phone number, and you have applied some format logic over the phone number and over the or it may be the email field, or it may be the another format field. So whenever that validation will fail, you want to display some notification in relation to that specific field only, over there only, to the user, so that the user will come to know this is not a correct format that you want him to implement there. So we can simply say set notification. You can display whatever message you want to say, and then this, whenever you will tab out through that CRM field, this notification will be visible there. So in the same way, we have form notification, but form notification has some different parameters. So it has basically three parameters. The one that first is the message that you want to display. So whatever notification you want to display to the user, you can define here over the form notification. And second parameter that we have here, that the icon that will be visible to the notification. So it could be an information icon, it could be an error icon, or it could be a alert icon. So it could be a different icon, that whatever information you want to display to the user. So it could be confirmation and all those. And once you have the icon, then third parameter is the specific ID. Okay, so this form notification works on basic of a specific unique ID. While creating the form notification, you need to provide some specific ID that will be unique, and that unique ID you will be using when you want to clear this form notification. So once And let's take this scenario that you applied some kind of logic over the CRM fields, and when this this validation will fail, you want to display this notification. And but if the user will again go to that CRM field, they will change that whatever value they entered, and that fulfills our business requirement or our data validation. So we need to remove this notification. So for that, we have the clear notification function for both CRM field as well as the CRM form. So, and in the CRM field notification, we can simply say clear, and in the case of form, we need to provide that ID of that. So let's have a look of how we can use these functions. So let's first see that how we can filter our lookup views in 2013. So you can see here we have two functions basically. The first one is the pre-filter lookup, where we are using the pre-search method that is new to 2013, and it will add that filter to the lookup view of the parent customer ID. So first we need to design our filter function. So that is our second function, set account filter conditions. So you can see here we have the fetch XML. So you don't need to declare variable. You can simply use this same variable name fetch XML, and simply you can just you also don't need to provide the complete fetch XML. You can just apply the filter condition that you want to impose here. So as you can see in the screen, we have just the filter conditions over here, which says that we want to display only those customers where this customer type is equal to 2. So basically this is we have this for the if we just want to display only those accounts who are consultant while relating those accounts to the primary account type. So we have applied that this validation here. So we just we have this filter, and then we will use our add custom filter functions to add this filter to our lookup view. So we will add here, and then we will call this function under this here, so that it will add that pre-search criteria to our parent customer ID. So once you can have this function over the form load, or you can use on change of some fields, and once this function will be called, it will associate this pre-search, and then again it will call this function that will apply your filter criteria, and based on that your lookup view will be filtered for you. So this is a simple condition, but you can apply other conditions as well here. And you also need to keep in mind, if you have already existing there are already existing, we have some filtered applied, so this filter will be applied in addition to that. So it will work like an AND operator. So your existing logic will also work, and the logic that you will apply here, that will be also work as like a AND condition, just like a logical AND. So both conditions should be true. So this way, this provides a very good feature here, lookup filter. So let's see how it will show you results. So you can see here that whenever we will click on the primary, we will go to our contact entity, and there we will try to select our parent customer. So whenever we will click the parent customer, you can see here we will just get two customer, which is basically type of consultant. So we have this apply that logic that we have applied through that JavaScript, which is available here. And these values, the when if in the 2013, that whenever you will click over the lookup control, you will also get a recently used accounts or recently used that entity fields, which is associated to that lookup. So in this case, we have account. So in that recently used account, it will also show only all whatever accounts you have selected based on the filter. So only those accounts will be visible there. So this way we can implement lookup filtering using client side in a very simple way, instead of writing the complete fetch XML for us. So let's move to the next slide where we have other functions here. So you can see, we have just used that alert here to display that current user, but we can also use the alert dialog, which is basically a asynchronous way to display that user. Means if you want to display some message to user, and it will display that dialog, but behind the scene your CRM will keep on working, so it won't stop that execution, whatever processing it's working, whether it is data loading over the form or the doing any kind of background processing, that keep running. So it will be asynchronous call. So you can see here we need to pass that the message that we want to display in that alert, and then callback method. So if user will close the dialog, if there is something that you want to perform in response to the user, you can create your function and you can call that callback function here. So once that dialog is completed, so that function will execute. So here we can see that set notification. So we have created a notify user function. Here we can see we just need to simply pass that whatever message you want to display to the user. So it could be any business specific message, or it could be any data validation that you want to implement here. So as I said, that if you are working with the set notification, you also need to keep in mind that you also need to use the clear notification then in case that client will fulfill that requirement. So the another function that we have, set form notification. So here you can see this is basically we are passing 3 parameters here. So first one is the notification message that we want to display to user, and that second one is the parameter to display that icon to the user, that information confirmation or alert or error alert, so that we want to display. And this is the unique ID that we want to give to this form notification. So when we will want to clear this, so we can go to that our form clear notification, and we can pass this ID, and it will clear the form notification that we have applied using this unique ID. So these way we can implement that. You can create your web resource and you can call these functions on the respective events. It could be on change or it could be on load. And then when you will publish your changes, so you can test like this. You can see here the first one that is displaying the full name of the user. So it will get that full name from the user entity and it will display you. And in the same way, you can see in the second screen, we have 2 notifications displayed here. The first one is the form notification with the information icon. So here you can see, this icon is displayed based on the parameter that we passed it. And apart from that, we have one notification here for this field. And we have, you can see that this icon will be displayed here. We don't have option here to change this icon. It will be, same here. So you can see here, once you will tab out to the function, CRM field, so you will get this notification. So to handle that, you can also, use the clear notification. So this case is that, and this feature is, most important when you are working with the any data validation on the client side, and you are applying different data validations, and you just display some kind of user information. Or you can also use this form level notification to display some kind of we can say that some kind of information to the specific entity record. So it could be just a user information, and that user information can help user to recognize that, okay, what is this form all about. So so it could be used in a different business scenarios. So this is the way that we can implement our client side functions. So let's move to our next slide. So next slide we have access team. So I'm giving control to Roohi. So
Thanks,
all
man.
yours, Roohi.
Yeah, thanks. So access teams. Now, what are access teams? Access teams is an extension to the existing sharing feature that has existed for a long time now. Now, earlier, with the concept of sharing, we could share it with a single recorder, we could share it with an entire team. Now, and at the time of sharing, we could decide the privileges that they get for the records that we share with them. So what this involved is somebody manually having to either individually share it with all of the users that you have, or otherwise go ahead and create a team. If you were to create a team, then you need to maintain the team. So every time there's a new user, you go and update the team, add the user to the team, so that they get the access and privileges for the particular record. Now, if we are talking about organizations that have a very dynamic structure where there are different set of users working as team on different records, it would be too time consuming, and it would involve a lot of effort in terms of maintenance of all of these teams for teams within their system. So that's where the access team comes into the picture. So it is nothing but sharing. You can share the records with the teams. The only thing, the only difference out here, and the main difference out here, is you are not responsible for maintaining the teams. CRM will do all the team maintenance for you. So it will go and create the teams. It will share the records with the users you've selected. So dynamic handling of the teams is done by using access teams. Now, again, so what happens to the permissions and privileges that we used to give earlier? Well, there's a new concept called access team template. So you create an access team template and associate it with the entity. And so when you add members to that entity, to that record, then the privileges that they are going to be given depends on the template that is associated with it. So we'll see what happens behind the scene and how it works. And also there may be cases where now that users can now that your records can be automatically shared. So how do we automatically share it using access team? Obviously, we know how we do it, the traditional way of sharing using principal access. Now this time we'll see how to do it using the access teams. So let's go ahead and talk about each of the concepts in detail. So team template. So here we have those familiar access right screen that we used to get when we clicked on the share button. So out here I have provided them with the access rights to append to read write. They are not allowed to share, assign, or delete. And I have provided, now as you can see, I can select a team. So this template that I'm making can only be associated with an account record. So I can have different permissions for different entities, as well I can have multiple templates for an entity. So this is one template that I have for account team, where I'm not giving assign, share, and delete permission. I can have another account managers team and provide them with the delete, assign, and share rights as well. And then when placing these so we are supposed to place a grid on the form. We'll see how it is done. Let me proceed. So once you've created the team, you're supposed to place a subgrid on the form, and decide on the team template that you want, that will define the privileges that the users get when they are added to this record using the specific grid that you are placing on the form. So if I wanted to have a manager's team and I wanted to have a user's team, then I could place two grids on the form, and specify different team templates for each of the grids, and the users in the different sections would get different rights based on the settings in their templates. So generally, when we have been adding subgrids, we have always had, say, suppose you had to add a subgrid for activities. So it would always be in the records, you would always select related record, and then you would select the entity and then the view. Now, however, if you see out here, in this case, you specifically have to select all record types. In the entity, you have to select users. And the default view, it would be associated record team members, and then you get the option to select the team template. So if you can notice, it's a drop down. So again, there can be multiple team templates per entity, and you can select the template that you want to apply for this particular grid. You can have multiple grids on the same form. So once you've done that, once you've done that, any users that you add to that grid would be controlled based on the team template rights that have been provided there. Now, what is happening? So you're not manually sharing the record, but the behavior that the users get is the equivalent to that of the record being shared in the earlier versions. So for every record that you assign a team member, a team record is created. So somebody has to create the team for them so that the members can be associated. We are not doing manually, so Microsoft is doing it automatically behind the scenes. The team type is set to access so as to differentiate from the existing teams that we make out there. And there's a particular logic to the name of the team, which is the entity record. So for every record, there would be a team created, because that's the concept of access teams. That every record could have different set of members, and therefore a different team is created. So you get the entity record plus the access template record ID that has been associated. So that way you can actually have multiple access team grids on a single entity form. Now, how do you go about executing this through code? We have a new API function that has been added, which is add user to record team request. So as we saw in the previous slides, the three items important out here is the record, which needs to be shared, the user that needs to be provided the access, and the team template that decides the privileges that the user gets for the particular record. So once you have passed all of this information, you will be able to share or you will be able to programmatically share the record with the user given the template ID. Similar to add user to record team request, there is also a remove from record team request to remove a particular user from the team. Now that was for the access teams. Now let's move forward to the new concept of actions. So we had the processes architecture, where traditionally there were only workflows, and then came dialogues. We just saw business process flows, which is also a part of the processes concept. And now the fourth one, which is actions. So what are actions? Actions are custom messages that you can create for your implementation of the business logic. So traditionally we have had messages like create, update, win, for opportunities, or quote, and things like that. So what are they? They are messages. They are actions that can be performed. So similarly, we could create for a true XRM implementation. The platform is moving towards XRM implementation. It's no longer a CRM implementation that is being targeted. So to design true XRM applications, earlier we used to manipulate the update, the concept. Say suppose if I wanted to implement approval, an approval process. it would generally have to be with a field that I've added on the form, which would be a checkbox, and I would ask users to click on it to say that, okay, you have approved. Basically, it was the update message that the users were still, that the programmers were still dealing with. Now, with actions, we could actually have a message called approve. So applications could use such, say suppose you had you were developing application integrations with other systems. So you could your application could make actions or make custom messages available that can then be extended. So that can then be extended by capturing those messages and registering custom business logic on those actions. So right now there's create message that's written by CRM platform. So, but we are able to capture this create message through a plugin and then provide custom business logic to be implemented before the create and even after the create. So similarly, once I have an approve message created, users will be able to extend it by adding a pre-stage plugin or a post-stage plugin against that message. So our applications are the applications that are being designed. They would really invoke that message and invoke the message, and then it could be extended by the developers by using a plugin registration, registering plugins against that message for any custom business logic that they wanted implemented in addition to the business logic that the original developer had intended to do using the approve action. So let's go ahead and see how it's done. So it's a part of a process. So when you create a new process, you need to select the action as the process type. Once you select the action, process type action, you will see that out here there's a unique name which already starts with a prefix new underscore. That was the default prefix of the solution, and that's the case. Now, whatever name you give out here, whatever the unique name you define for the process, that is the unique name that you will automatically see in your plugin registration tool to register plugins against. Now, if you see, there is enable rollback, which means that again, this transaction driven, you can roll back in case of errors, you can roll back the operations. Now, process arguments. What are process arguments? Let's go back to our create message or the update message. Now, when you were writing plugins for create or update, you will always find input parameters, and you get the target in the input parameter. So that's what we're talking over here about process arguments. If you can see in the screenshot below, there is a direction field with input and output. So this allows you to create process arguments, both input parameters and output parameters for your message. The different types of the different data types that are supported include Boolean, entity collection, reference. The entire list is shown up there on your screen. So you can have, if you see, there's entity collection as well as entity. So if you had your application, when invoking, the application actually passed the entire collection of an entity collection, you could actually be receiving an entity parameter of entity collection. Similarly, there's entity. The entity is nothing but what traditionally we receive as target. Target is an entity image. So using these input, using this process arguments, you can define the input and output parameters for your message. So let's move forward to see what an action can do. So this is what we see in our workflow designer as well. You can design, you can add conditions, you can perform all of the out-of-the-box functionality like create, update, assign. This is basically what happens when the approve action is invoked. When the approve action is invoked, you want to perform all of these. Along with this, now in the screen, I don't have a custom workflow assembly registered, but if I had one, I could even call that. So how it could work is, say you have designed an action that accepts a input parameter. That input parameter can be passed on as an input parameter to your workflow assembly, and then the workflow assembly has the concept of returning an output parameter. You could read that output parameter and set it as the value for your output parameter that you have defined in the action custom arguments. So this way, you can decide what happens. So, and being a workflow, it can be extended to, so it's like a workflow, so people can go ahead and extend it to include any other actions that they want to perform when the approve is invoked. So when you go about to invoke, you may want to send an email, and you may want to perform some other actions, some other operations as well, which you can do right now. Besides, you can even stop the operation by registering a pre-validation or pre-operation plugin. Now, let's see how do you invoke the action. So actions are invoked just like our traditional messages are invoked. So it's an organization request. The request name provided out here is new_approve. This is the same name. This is same as the unique name that was provided while designing the action. What's approved by? Approved by is one of the input parameters that was defined of the type entity reference. Target is the by default parameter that needs to be passed to provide the record ID on which the action needs to be invoked. And as a response, if you had if you had an output parameter defined, you could read it from the response if there was something returned. So that's how you can use actions. Now let's see how to register a plugin against the action. Now, new_approve is something that would come in automatically if you connected the plugin registration tool to an organization that has an action defined. So this time, this action was defined on the sales order entity. So as soon as we type the sales order entity, there's the message, and all the traditional plugin behavior can be followed, which means keeping it synchronous, keeping it asynchronous, post-operation, pre-validation, passing your configuration details. Everything works just as the traditional messages. So actions is a big step forward to taking this in the area of CRM implementation and for ISVs designing custom solutions. So they no longer need to depend on the traditional create and update. They can go ahead and create their own messages, which can then further be extended by other developers, so as and companies when they implement their solutions. So that was it for the actions. Now let's move forward to the next concept, real-time workflows. I'll transfer control to Mahender to take this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Roohi. So let's discuss, another very exciting feature in CRM 2013, which is basically a real-time workflow. So till now, if you will ask to any CRM user, any CRM developer that how workflow works, so they will just answer that workflow works in an asynchronous manner, and they are dependent on the asynchronous service that we have that is running behind the scene in CRM. But now, in case of CRM 2013, this is not correct. In CRM 2013, we can also create workflow that runs in a synchronous manner, just like a plugin. So it provides us the functionality, to create workflows and then run them like a synchronous manner, and we can get our feedback at that point only. Where, let's say, for example, if you are working on some data calculation or you want to assign some field to the workflow, so you can create workflow, you can define your logic, you can assign the values, and then you can execute that workflow and you can see the result at that moment only. And now, because they are running in a synchronous manner, they are part of the transactions. So transaction is a concept that is introduced in CRM 2011, and there it's just like a SQL transactions, where if you are working on multiple commands and if you are doing on multiple operations, and it will start creating transactions for you, and at some point if something will go wrong, it will roll back all your operation that is done under that transaction. So in the same way, in workflow we have the transaction support. So if you are applying some business logic to your multiple entities sorry, so you can have that workflow as part of the transaction. So as they are now synchronous, they also support that execution pipeline, just like plugins. Sorry. So we can define that if we want to run that workflow on a pre-event, post-event of the CRM main operation. So while designing the workflow, you have options, just like we have options while designing our plugin through the plugin registration tool. Sorry. So, and then the same thing that we have already in the workflows, that we can have two type of workflows that could run on specific to some event, and we can make it automatically. We can bound it to some specific event. When this event will happen, we can say that okay, our workflow should run. So that is the case that is available at this point as well. And we have on-demand workflows as well, so you can run your synchronous workflows as on-demand as well. And the new concept that is also added here is through the error message while canceling your workflow. So if you are working on any kind of business requirement, there you have implemented any business process, and you are checking some validations, or you have some business rule imposed there, and you want to throw some error if that data validation or the business rule will fail. So this is the new thing that is added to the workflows. You can have error message, just like set notification that we can do through the client script. We can also do that with the help of workflow. So you need to simply select your cancel action, and there you can define that error message that will be displayed. So this way workflow also provide us this functionality to provide that notification. And then real-time workflows, if you have some workflow which is a background workflow, here the background workflow is basically mentioned for the asynchronous workflows, that is traditionally we used to have asynchronous workflows. So you can easily convert your asynchronous workflow to synchronous workflow, and in the same way you can convert your synchronous workflow to asynchronous workflows. So these functions in CRM user interface, it has that options available. You can just click on those buttons and your workflows will be converted from asynchronous to synchronous, or synchronous to asynchronous. So while you will start designing your process, in the first screen itself you will have that option that if you want to run your workflow as a background workflow or not. So this, if you will check that checkbox over there, it will create asynchronous workflow, and that interface that you will get will be like a traditional workflow. But if you won't check that checkbox, and you want to, it means that you want to create a synchronous workflow, then you will have a different layout when you will design your workflow. So let's see how we can design that real-time workflows in CRM UI. So let's move to next slide. So here you can see this interface is just similar to that plugin that when we register the plugins using the plugin registration tool. So over the section on the top here we can see this is all about this. We have as a traditional workflows where we can have this the entity which for which we are writing our workflow, and then we have the category will be displayed here, and then you can see here this is the new addition here, which is basically to log that error information. So just like in plugin, you can have that you have the tracing services and you can maintain that error tracing. So if something will go wrong, so you can check your trace and you can find out, you can do the troubleshooting. So it will help you in the troubleshooting that plugin. So in the same way, in plugin you can also check this mark, and then it will maintain all the logs for you. And then you can see here this checkbox is not marked. It means that we are creating a synchronous workflow. So here you can see we have options to automate our process, and you can see these are the traditional scope, just like we have in asynchronous workflow as well, that we want to create our workflow for organizational scope, user scope, business unit. And then you can see here these are the same events that we have in asynchronous workflow as well. But now you can see here this plugin execution pipeline events are there. So you can define that if you want to run your workflow on before or after, just like a plugin. So, and you can, once you will select that, so corresponding drop down will be available. You can go there and you can select it, or whether it is you are creating a workflow for record creation, or you want to change the state, or you want to assign any record, or you are doing any updation to the CRM entity field. So here we have options to delete it. So we can have this before if we want to apply some validations here, so you can apply that validation on that before the delete operation. And then you can see here is Roohi, let's go to back. Okay, yeah, so we have here two options that you can see that this is basically just like a we can implement impersonation in plugin. We have this option that if you want to execute this the owner of the workflow, or that the user who made the changes to the record. So this is, but if you know that in the traditional workflows, so we have this concept that online on-demand workflow will always run on the current user security context, and if it's a automatic workflow, that will be running on that the user who has created that. So but here it provides us the ability that you can impersonate your workflow and you can define what user security role you want to run this workflow. So in our example, we are designing a synchronous workflow where we want to show error message to the user. So we have selected that if record is deleted, and before step is, and let's say we want to design that how we can show that error. So let's see, let's move to the next slide. And you can see over here we have the traditional workflow designer, where we can add steps, we can apply the conditions just like as we can do in asynchronous. So I'm simply here doing one check. So let's take an example that we have some account, and if this account is approved by the business user, you cannot delete that account. So those accounts have some specific business value for us, so you cannot delete that. So in the same way, you can see that I have applied a condition where I'm checking if the account approval is equal to approved, then I have selected cancel step here, and if you will click on the set properties, you will get this dialog where you can see that I'm displaying this message that you cannot delete approved account. So simply whatever error message or the notification you want to give to user, you can just simply mention over it here. So that is done. So you can save your workflow, you can activate your workflow, and then you can test your workflow. So let's test this workflow. So we can let's move to next slide, and then we will see that if we will try to delete any account which is approved. So here you can see we have a sample account. You can see this account is approved. So when we will try to delete that, at that moment our synchronous workflow will run, and it will display that error message, that notification that we have mentioned during the cancel of the workflow to the user. And you can notice here is that it has the same download log file button, just like we used to have in plugins. So if you are working with plugin, there you will throw any error message that will have that window, and you will get that button. where you can download the trace file. So in the same way here in synchronous workflow as well, when you will click on the download log file, so you will have the tracing information with you that you can use to troubleshoot if there is some kind of specific data validation is failing. So this way we can design our real-time workflows in 2013, and this is the most interesting and most important feature that they have added in 2013. So you can design now both asynchronous as well as synchronous workflows. So this was the last slide that we have, and I hope you enjoyed our session. And now we have a quick QA session where we just want to hear if you have any questions, and I request you that shortly you will get a feedback form. I request you to provide your feedback so that we can improve our session. So next time you can see that improved session. So let's start our QA session. If you guys have any questions, so you can let us know, and then we will be there to help to answer your questions. And just to let you know, we have this PPT in terms of the PDF. So if you want to download, we have shared this under the meeting, and you can download it from there. So you have this complete session in terms of the PDF. So you can have this session with you. So if you will go to that handout session here, handout command, so there you will see this PDF. So you can select that PDF and you can download to your computer. So you will have that session with you.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay, I think
if you don't
yeah, I
have any
think
questions,
yeah, I think that's cool. So nobody have any questions. So I thank you very much for joining our session, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And please be remember to fill up that feedback form so that we can improve our session for next webcast. Thank you very much. So have a nice day ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roohi.
Thank you.